Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love to the author and me. On to the show. Regarding the fact that Zian chose Tianrui Xinghai, which was ranked 102nd, or Ime Nebula, which was the worst among them. Mingxiang felt very incredible, and her eyes were full of astonishment when she looked at Zian. Because under normal circumstances, only the most ordinary members of the Universe Technology Group would choose here out of desperation. There are even some people who would rather not be the lord of this nebula or be in charge of a party than choose this kind of place. Unexpectedly, Zian, who has great potential and has the highest cultivation level, would not choose those prosperous places, but choose a place like Ime Nebula. This is something Mingxiang is puzzled to understand. Compared to her. On the contrary, the girls would not feel any surprise no matter how unexpected Zian's choice was. After so many years. Any choice of Zian, total area. And there have never been any problems. They know. Zian chose Ime Nebula for his own reasons. What happens next is simple. It's the evolved starship. Evolve starships fiercely. Nowadays starships evolve. All in a purely evolutionary way, since it has always been a purely evolutionary approach. Then this method will be adopted in the future. The reason for this choice. The reason is simple. A purely evolved starship is undoubtedly the most powerful. The only difficulty. It's a matter of evolution level. And the evolution difficulty is very high. Before gaining the ability to experience this in advance. In the evolved Star Destroyer, Zian will definitely have some major parts that will be directly devoured and fused. But after acquiring this ability, the evolutionist's ability increases rapidly. It has only been 2 years since I entered the anti-universe for the second time. Zian can now steadily evolve the Star Destroyer. And I have roughly learned how to improve the quality of Golden Legends to a certain extent. This time it evolves to a Star Destroyer. Will achieve overall Golden Legendary quality. 100% Golden Legendary quality. Then take it up when you reach the Immortal Ship level. The reason why we continuously improve the quality of starships. Because of. That's all. In the future, the gap between the levels of various starships will become wider and wider. Zian can always achieve leapfrog kills. That's the point. Pure evolution. More natural resources are needed. Today, Zian is not short of money or military merit. Whatever money can buy, use money. If you can't, then use the vehicle power value to purchase it. The evolution of the Star Destroyer. Zian undoubtedly attaches great importance to it. The whole journey. See the 28-day evolution. Don't underestimate these 28 days. The reason is that it only takes 28 days. This is the situation where Zian's evolutionist strength has improved a lot. Otherwise, say 28 days. For an ordinary evolutionist, it would probably take 280 days. This is the difference between a peerless genius-level evolutionist and an ordinary evolutionist. Its evolution time is greatly shortened. This is an important point. Zian is undergoing starship evolution here. Reports about Zian have never stopped since Zian successfully led these human ancestors back. The name Zian has now completely become an idol-level existence in the minds of young people. That's much crazier than those crazy star-chasing fans on Earth in ancient times. Countless young girls have publicly stated that they will never marry unless they are Zian. The idea is good, but the consequences are. It has made countless parents worry about turning their hair gray. The reason is simple. Looking at their daughters who are all mediocre in appearance or have not yet awakened their biological abilities. Only by sighing constantly can you calm down your heart. In addition to the news of Zian's return. Immediately afterwards, another piece of heavy news was delivered today, and it's also information released on the official homepage of Universe Technology Group. The message content is very simple. Congratulations to Zian, the brilliant genius, for joining the Universe Technology Group. However, this news is huge, but compared to the fact that Zian has the secret of good and anti-universe, it is nothing. Soon, the past was covered up again, and it did not set off much of a wave. Watching the brilliant horn engulfing evolution step by step, Zian felt unreasonably satisfied and proud in his heart. Once upon a time, Star Destroyer, this is the ultimate he has been pursuing. Never thought about it. Less than 10 years. The end point that most biological captains cannot reach in their lifetime, Zian not only easily reached it, but also regarded it as the starting point. The starting point of true strength. Star Destroyer. This is the beginning of the initial use of antimatter weapons. Antimatter weapons. No doubt. It is synonymous with high-end lethal weapons in the universe. Star Destroyer. In the true sense, it means a planet. Ordinary planets are completely inadequate in front of a Star Destroyer. In addition, antimatter doesn't just represent weapons. Same. For example, energy shields can also be initially doped with a portion of antimatter energy as their energy source. It's not that they are unwilling to use more advanced antimatter energy. It's because of antimatter energy shield devices and antimatter weapons. All of them are extremely large in size. Also includes antimatter engines. The size is very large. The more antimatter energy a device uses, the larger it will become. Not only that, antimatter is an advanced energy in the universe. The starship itself is driven, so there is no big problem. But volume comes first. In addition, in the case of Star Wars, the starship itself is driven and cannot bring much powerful combat effectiveness. Another reason why biological starships are different from mechanical starships is the weapons, defense, power, etc. of biological starships in the context of Star Wars. All can be injected with biological energy to control, increase power, etc. If there is too much antimatter energy, more biological energy will naturally be required for driving. To use an analogy, an ordinary cannonball with an antimatter content of about 1/10,000th. If biological energy is injected into it for control, then a first-order Star Destroyer captain can fire approximately tens of thousands of missiles before running out of biological energy. But if the antimatter content of this cannonball is 1%, or even 1/10th, or even 100%, then the bioenergy required will also increase geometrically. Even a shell with 100% antimatter content, a first-order Star Destroyer captain's bioenergy may be completely exhausted after firing one shell. Therefore, in order to maintain continuous combat capability, Zian, naturally, would not deliberately expand the level of antimatter equipment. Just follow normal. Then power, performance, and so on. Just use quality to improve it. And Star Destroyer. The data of the extreme length, width, and height are: length, 6,999.9 meters, width, 1,399.9 meters, height, 899.9 meters, length alone, it increased by a full 2,000 meters. And just the height. They are already equivalent to the maximum length of a destroyer. From this, you can imagine how much the volume has increased. Weapons. The main gun, Zian, plans to directly upgrade it to 6 super large caliber main guns, 3-door energy type, 3-door kinetic type. Just in time, you can also use the 3-cross firefighting technique. The 3-cross fire technique of the main gun is the latest skill that Zian has mastered. The Star Destroyer's triple crossfire technique. And it will definitely be of golden legendary quality. Unimaginable. What a terrifying combat power it will possess by then. Don't say anything else. An ordinary immortal ship. There's no way it can withstand Zian's main cannon. I really can't control it. Secondary gun. Then expanded to 66 doors. It is still a high explosive type, and it is still half energy and half kinetic energy. Missile. That's 108 doors. The Star Destroyer level brilliance has enough, good news, space to place so many missile launch bays. And these weapons. They are all the ones that initially use antimatter energy. Extra large diameter. Crossfire. Legendary quality, antimatter energy, super Star Wars ability. To know. Advance experience, Zian, is not just used for evolution. Star Wars, individual wars, the sun never sets. All kinds of things add up. The attack capability of the brilliant number has actually reached an extreme. Coupled with Zian's biological energy that is always double that of others. The immortal ship was before him. A younger brother too. After all. Captain of the immortal ship. Who can often experience battles at the level of a town ship or even a supreme ship. Zianing. Experience it in advance. Nowadays, he often starts battle simulations at the level of town ships and even supreme ships. H. It is far beyond the capabilities of a Star Destroyer captain. Same, it also surpasses most immortal ship captains. Coupled with the power of the brilliance itself. And, the most important thing is the overlapping capability of multidimensional space starships. Let's just say this post. Under the void ship. I am invincible, except for the brilliant number. The starship of the ladies. Naturally, it has also ushered in a new update. Actually, whether it's the brilliance or the girls' starships. At the deep spaceship level. In fact, it's the one with the least amount of fighting. Of course, this also includes the battleship era. In the era of battleships and deep spaceships, they almost never experienced too many battles. Always in the anti-universe. Even if the next two actions. Mr. Liu, Li Shitao and others also protected Zian and the brilliant fleet very well. However, after reaching the Star Destroyer level, maybe you have to rely on yourself for everything. The reason is simple. No matter how talented a person is. Under the protection of the wings of a strong man, you will never be strong unless you experience the wind and rain yourself. Although Zian is an exception. Because he has the system. Star Wars simulation and personal battle simulation can make him no longer think of a greenhouse. But the girls are different. They have no system. And Zian also felt it very clearly, the girls' cultivation improved very quickly, but their fighting skills obviously can't keep up. Therefore, from the moment he broke through to the Star Destroyer, the Universal Federation of Humanity, no further protective measures will be taken. Everything. It's all up to you. Protector. It will also cease to exist completely. To this, Zian doesn't care. Because fighting would only make his blood boil. What's more, they are already captains of Star Destroyers. If you still need strong people to protect you at all times, especially if you have a system. 083, tell the truth, Zian will feel that life is very boring. Only thrilling battles will give you rebirth in the battle. This is what Zian pursues. Instead of being like a giant baby under the protection of strong men, this is an update. Zian is also racking his brains for the evolution of the starships of the girls. Tamitage. The core armor alone exceeds 550 meters on one side. The core armor on both sides reaches 90 meters. That is the maximum length of a cruiser. What is this concept? Not to mention, core armor, Zian also broke through the double cross defense technology. Double cross defense. And double crossfire. It is an evolutionary technology of a concept. Wait for the future. 3 cross defense, 4 cross defense, and so on. All are available, it's just that starships focus primarily on attack, followed by defense. Therefore, there is only such a concept at present. The entire human federation of the universe. Zian is the only evolutionist who knows how to cross defense so far. No doubt. Double cross defense, its defensive capabilities are extremely terrifying. Especially when Time and Taj's single-sided core armor reached 11 core armors, 5,000 meters. 2x2 for double cross defense, the overall defense performance can even reach 3. To put it simply, these 11 core armors have undergone a total of 5 cross-defense technology promotions. Then the real defense is calculated according to the data. The actual defense value is equivalent to the defense capability of 15 or 16 Beck core armors. This shows the horror of crossfire and cross defense. Not to mention, there's also a 3 crossfire fight with an energy shield device. Zian has not fully understood the 4-way crossfire of the Star Destroyer yet. But wait until you reach the intermediate or advanced Star Destroyer level, you can definitely understand it. By the time you can install 4 energy shield devices to implement 4 crossfire defense. The defensive power of its energy shield, in terms of numerical value, is equivalent to the total defense of a mature energy shield. Its defensive capabilities. It's really powerful. The second daughter of Huqiqi and Qin Fuyue. Of course, it is still the pursuit of ultimate firepower. Countless large-caliber missile launch bays, main guns, and secondary guns are stacked up. Its firepower is so fierce. Let's put it that way, it can easily cover a star system and wipe out all the creatures inside. And what about Haitang and Miaoxiaomi? Then you can easily blow up a planet in a star system, destroy living things. And blowing up planets. It's not a concept. Creatures will run away. The firepower of Huqiqi, Qin Fuyue and the others is so fierce that they can kill them all. Haitang and Miaoxiaomi can't do it, but they can blow up the planet. 4 people combined. It is equivalent to the kind that can completely destroy a star system and not even a fly can survive. Time and Taj can intercept attacks from all forces in a star system for them. As for the 2 daughters, by Xiaoyuan and Chu Tianga, simpler. Their support capabilities. It allows the 2 girls of Time and Taj to continue to withstand the attack losses of at least 50 star systems while maintaining constant maintenance. These are consumed by attacks, including interception of those biological captains, and damage to starships caused by attacks on the defense system of the star system itself. At the same time, it allows Haitang, Miaoxiaomi, Huqiqi, and Qin Fuyue to continuously output the energy required to destroy 50 star systems. Plus, the reserves the girls originally had on the starship. That is to say, if you really count it out. Star systems like the solar system. Not counting Zian. Just the women. You can easily kill 51. But in fact, the truth is, no star system would resist to this extent. If we are really aiming for maximum casualties, we will not use such a comprehensive coverage method. Instead, after destroying the enemy's main planet, they will continue to the next star system. As for the escaping starships, they will basically ignore them. Just like that time the Ghana tribe attacked the hinterland of the Inhumans, if it is according to that kind of attack method. Brilliant fleet, including Zian. Enough to easily destroy an entire galaxy, absolutely no problem. Just go for the main goals of this big galaxy. For example, the Federal Army, training camps, schools, military and political bases, and other places where there are many biological captains, strong people, relatively famous forces, and various precious facilities. Ordinary people. In fact, not many people will waste that ammunition. If you can kill some easily, kill some. If you can't kill them, it doesn't matter at all. And what if? Now that the brilliant fleet can add 2 more support ships of the same level, it can even kill 2 large galaxies. This is also the importance of support ships. 28 days of evolution. It was over soon. Brilliant fleet. Since then, completely destroy all star destroyers. Watching him follow himself in less than time. From the keel of a reconnaissance ship, it evolved quickly and step by step to the behemoth brilliant ship it is today, Zian's heart. Full of pride and pride. Exterior. Not a very ferocious one. But very oppressive. There are not many weapons. But it always gives people a deadly atmosphere. The main components have reached the golden legendary quality. How strong is its real strength? In fact, Zian himself can't fully explain it. It can only be understood after a real try. But one thing is for sure. Fourth senior sister Lu Yuyu and principal Gu Qingzhan were definitely defeated by their own men. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but look at Lu Yuyu and Gu Qingzhan next to them. I caught a look out of the corner of my eye. They seemed to understand something from Zian's triumphant eyes. Their expressions were all stiff. Gu Qingzhan opened his mouth but said nothing. On the old face, there was relief, anger, and depression. Lu Yuyu glared at Zian fiercely and puffed up her cheeks angrily. Zian smiled. He immediately stopped joking, took a deep breath, and said, "Now that the starship has evolved, if nothing unexpected happens. At 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I will set off for Tianruo Xinghai." Lu Yuyu and Gu Qingzhan fell silent immediately. Actually, after they learned about Zian's choice later, they were extremely puzzled. Only, they also know that Zian has a very stubborn temper and will never change what he has decided. After a moment of silence, Lu Yuyu suddenly said, "Then you must work hard to manage your territory and be the master of the nebula. Because soon, I will definitely run to you. When the time comes, you can't ignore me." When he said this, those beautiful eyes were fixed on Zian without blinking. There was a brilliance in her eyes that only she could understand. Gu Qingzhan also smiled slightly and patted Zian on the shoulder with a sigh. "I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, you were already the Lord of Nebula. And now, you happen to be Yin Wu. 11. Only Dao, Captain of the Star Destroyer, Lord of the Nebula. TSK, Tisk. Do a good job, and I will choose a place next to you later. I plan to take the Chinese Academy of Sciences to move to your territory. Or open a branch there. You, the honorary principal, cannot stop being the master of the nebula just because you have become the master of the nebula." Zian grinned. Smile brightly. In fact, I am also looking forward to that day. After he completely stabilized the Ime Nebula and became the uncompromising lord of the nebula. Relatives and friends came to help him manage his territory. And myself. You will also be able to move towards higher goals. Looking into the silent deep sky, one can see the bright spots all around. Those shining points are all stars, and they also represent star systems. Of course, there are also independent wandering stars, but that kind of situation is very, very rare in the universe. Compared to other star seas. Although there are no fewer star systems here than other star seas. But prosperity. It's really much different. If it were in other star seas. Even though it is extremely vast, the population is also terrifyingly large, and caravans, fleets, starships, etc. travel everywhere, so you can encounter other starships all the time. But it has been half a month since Zian and the others entered Tianruo Xinghai. It was okay at first. When I came to Tianruo Xinghai from Nantian Xinghai, it was because that area was a relatively prosperous place. So I still meet people occasionally. But as it gets further and further away from the central area. In recent days, interstellar pirates have encountered many normal starships. That's really few. Haven't encountered any. But it also made Zian see that the security of Tianruo Xinghai was really a huge problem. First, the security issues here are definitely not limited to Ime Nebula. But the security situation in the entire Tianruo Xinghai is extremely poor. Even just after leaving the central area, we encountered many interceptions by interstellar pirates and even many private battles. Sometimes the interstellar pirates win, sometimes the fleet wins. Private fighting is a grudge fight between non-criminals. Even, there are some people who have no grudges and start fighting just because they like the other person's things. Anyway, it's very, very messy here. It was so chaotic that Zian thought he was in some helpless place. Help! Is anyone here? Help! Suddenly, a shrill and panicked cry for help suddenly sounded on the public channel of the communicator. Zian shook his head and sighed, glanced at the detection radar, and said, "Go and deal with it." Meow Xiaomi immediately responded, "Received." Immediately, he accelerated violently and flew in that direction. Then less than 10 minutes later, the Meow Meow flew back again. Before anyone arrived, Meow Xiaomi's voice rang, "Just a group of super small interstellar pirates. Just such a sentence is enough. Ultra small interstellar pirates can only hold up an assault ship or even a frigate. For a star destroyer level Meowth. Just a bunch of ants. There is nothing worth saying at all." Zian didn't ask about other details at all, because he had no interest in knowing what happened in the battle just now. However, Zian felt more solemn in his heart. The security here is a big problem. I want Ime Nebula to develop. First of all, this public security issue is a top priority. There is no doubt about this. If public security cannot be guaranteed, how can we prosper? So, after he took over Ime Nebula, his first priority was to deal with its security. For the rest, we will wait until the security issues within the Ime Nebula are resolved first. And today, it is already the 7th month since Zian and the others set out. Yes. The entire 7th month. The distance between the Sea of Stars and the Sea of Stars is really too long. Even if there is a wormhole stargate, it cannot be reached in a short time. Good thing. After 7 months of sailing, we are finally arriving at the Ime Nebula. And what I have to say is, after breaking through to the Star Destroyer, the speed of cultivation growth suddenly became extremely difficult. Because each level requires too many biological energies. As long as 7 months, even if it is Zian. It's not even full value yet. But pretty soon. It will take at most 10 days and a half to reach the full value and then complete the breakthrough. All the girls, during these 7 months, they have been practicing continuously. The progress of cultivation improvement is similar to Zian's. That is to say, cultivation time and then add almost a month of starship evolution time. Now is the time for a breakthrough. The terrifying 8.5 months have come. Want to completely complete the breakthrough from Star Destroyer to Immortal Ship. It will take at least 6 years. Because the further you go, the harder it gets. It is most likely that it will take 8 to 10 years to break through to the Immortal Ship. Of course, there is another situation dash. That's a lot of fighting. Then practice in the anti-universe. Anti-universe ultra-rich biological energy, plus a lot of fighting. Perhaps this breakthrough time will be shortened to 4 to 5 years. The specific situation remains to be seen. Definitely don't know yet, but normally, it takes 8 to 10 years. Say no more. Taking the girls with him, he continued on his way. Ime Nebula. It governs a total of 7 star regions. And these 7 star sectors attacked 1883 large galaxies. On average, each star sector controls almost 269 large galaxies. And among these 1883 large galaxies, there are 8, all border battlefields. There are actually only 1,875 real large galaxies in the rear. Don't look at there are so many big galaxies. But because I am really too poor, really too poor. Poverty is not just due to a small population, poor public security, and economic depression. It is also because there are no precious minerals, precious materials, treasures, and other items here. In addition to the environment here, there are no big companies, big groups, or big families to settle in. There are no factories or anything like that. Naturally, the economy has entered a state of Great Depression. It is really not an easy thing to completely make this place prosperous. Asking for flowers. This is also the purpose of training by the Universe Technology Group, and that's why Zian wants to be trained in this kind of place. Only such a barren place can be managed very well. Only then can you truly exercise your abilities in all aspects. Not just a warrior who only knows how to fight. Becoming the most powerful person in the universe is of course what Zian has always pursued. However, he does not want to simply be a martial artist. Peak strength. It's just the basis for him to become the top big shot. And if you want to be the top big shot, it's definitely not just about having strength. All abilities must keep up. For example, if you have the strength of an annihilation ship captain but don't know anything, you can't be a member of the Pinnacle team. Allowing you to control the Universal Federation of Humanity is irresponsible to the countless lives of the entire Universal Federation of Humanity. This is the main reason why Zian is willing to accept the second option of the Universe Technology Group and firmly choose Ime Nebula as his territory. Zian. Be a real big shot. And at this time, the Ime Nebula, the Huguang Star region, the Chani Galaxy, and the Shuayan Galaxy. If you have to choose a tall one among the short ones, then this Chani Galaxy is the most prosperous among the 1883 star systems. Of course, this prosperity, at best, can only be equivalent to the middle and lower level large galaxies in the Jiuxiao Sea of Stars. The Shuayan star system is the most prosperous star system in the Chani Galaxy. At the same time, it is also the military and political center of the entire Ime Nebula. It is the main office area of the Lord of Ime Nebula, and of course it is also the living area. But whether you want to live here or not depends on the Lord of Nebula's own wishes. And today, the Waterside star system is quite lively. Countless big shots in the entire Ime Nebula are all gathered here. But while it's lively, the atmosphere is quite weird. The reason is simple. They get the message. The new Lord of Ime Nebula, sent by the Universe Technology Group, will arrive today. They didn't know who the new Lord of the Ime Nebula was, because this information is strictly confidential until the other party arrives. But that's not important. Come to think of it, he's not a powerful person. After all, if it were really a powerful figure in the Universe Technology Group, how could he come to such a remote place to serve as the Lord of Nebula? Crazy? And the source of the weird atmosphere. It is the three people sitting at the top of the hall. They are also the three people with the most power in Ime Nebula today. They are commander of 2 Nebula-level legions in Ime Nebula, as well as the person in charge of Ime Nebula Universe Technology Group branch, Ime Nebula. There are 2 Nebula-level legions attacking. Generally speaking, every lucky one has 3 to 5 Nebula-level legions. For example, Tianhan Nebula, controlled by the Earth Federation, has 5 Nebula-level legions under its command. In addition, some nebulae in the universe that are particularly prosperous or in military-heavy areas may even have more than 5 nebula-level star clusters. There are only 2 nebula-level legions in the huge Ime Nebula. It's actually a very small number. No wonder even basic security cannot be guaranteed. Of course, more likely, it's because of mediocrity. On the main seat, the expressionless middle-aged man was the commander of the 1st Nebula-level Legion and a powerful immortal ship. The burly man with a curly beard and an angry face, as if he didn't like anyone, was the commander of the 2nd Nebula-level Legion, and he was also an immortal-level powerhouse. Then there was the thin, middle-aged man with a gloomy face. He is the person in charge of the branch of Ime Nebula Universe Technology Group. He is also the second in command of Ime Nebula. The expressions of the three of them were more ugly than the other. The reason is simple. Originally named 897, after the previous master of Ime Nebula was killed by the enemy, there is hope for them to take over. In the past 3 years, the three people have been fighting openly and secretly, making the already dilapidated Ime Nebula even more chaotic. but I never expected it. They fought for 3 full years, but in the end, no one was chosen. In the end, the Lord of Nebula came directly from the air. How could they endure this? The atmosphere at the scene was so tense that the big shots below all lowered their heads and did not dare to speak. These people. They are all the masters of the 7 major star regions and the masters of the galaxies of those large galaxies. Lowest. He is the Lord of the galaxy. Because there is no distinction between the master and the master of a star system. Simply the length of the galaxy. On site. There were nearly 2,000 people, but no one dared to say a word. I keep lamenting in my heart, or various little thoughts keep popping up. Maid, I want to see who this person is today. Finally, the burly man who was the commander of the 2nd Nebula Legion couldn't bear it anymore and cursed. His eyes were murderous. He was indeed quite annoyed. Originally, he was very hopeful to take over as the Lord of Nebula. His personal strength is the strongest among the 3. The commander of the 1st Nebula Legion is the strongest army under his command. As for the gloomy-looking manager, he manages the finances of the entire Evian galaxy and the rewards, punishments, and scheduling of government personnel. Therefore, most of the sector lords and galaxy lords present are his people. The 3 of them each have their own merits. Now, the peach was picked all of a sudden. Naturally, I couldn't be happier. The other 2 were silent. The commander of the 2nd Army was allowed to continue shouting alone. No one responded to him at all. This is the Shuan star system? Qin Fuyue blinked her big eyes, looked around curiously, and then teased, It seems like the people here don't welcome you very much. Teasing Zian. But when Qin Fuyue said this, there was no concealed murderous intention in her beautiful eyes. Including all the girls, this is the case. They had already entered the Ime Nebula. Then come all the way. It has experienced the Heguang star region, the Chani galaxy, and then the Shuyan star system until now. Now the Shuyan star system is within sight. Normally, when the Lord of Nebula takes over, someone will definitely come to greet him. It's just a matter of the size of the meeting. At least the surface work will still be done. But this Ime Nebula doesn't even do superficial work. What this means is very obvious. This is just give Zian a shot. This is disrespectful to Zian. No respect for Zian. The anger and murderous intent in their hearts had already boiled over. Inside the bright number, hear what Qin Fuyue said. Zian smiled faintly and said calmly, I don't need them to welcome or not. Now that I have become the master of this Ime Nebula, all I want is for my territory to prosper. Since they are not welcome, then I will replace the ones who are not welcome and let the ones who are welcome come up. If everyone doesn't like them, I will replace them all. The tone was very flat, but which of the girls can't hear the coldness in it? Obviously. Zian was also very unhappy. Originally, he was already very unhappy when Ime Nebula was treated like this. Start by entering the Ime Nebula. The cries for help keep coming. Fighting can be seen everywhere. Exactly. This way down. Not even a patrolling federal army was seen. It even made Zian wonder for a time whether he had arrived in some lawless place, rather than under the jurisdiction of the Universal Human Federation. This shows how useless the managers here are. Naturally, Zian cannot have a good temper when dealing with these wastes. This time I took over as the master of Ime Nebula. I'm afraid I'm going to go through a fight and a bloody storm. But Zian didn't care at all. Serious illness requires serious medicine. Now that Ime Nebula is terminally ill, then let's do some bone scraping to heal the wounds. In this way, only then can these cancers be completely eliminated. Only by removing these cancers. Only then can we truly give Ime Nebula a bright future. Thinking like this, Zian had already pressed confidential communication and dialed a communication number. Communication is connected. On the other end, Yao Yao's sweet and respectful voice immediately came, Master. Zian was too lazy to care about her name. He had corrected her several times before, but Jiang Yao Yao had always called her that way. Being called master by an elf queen means telling the truth. It is impossible to say that Zian does not feel secretly happy in his heart. How's the penetration investigation going? Zian asked calmly, now that I have taken over as the master of Ime Nebula. Of course it is impossible for Zian to be unprepared. Not only must we successfully take over this Ime Nebula, Zian undoubtedly attaches great importance to Ime Nebula as his first real territory. At least, as the master of Ime Nebula, he must be able to control all matters in Ime Nebula immediately. Let Ime Nebula have no secrets in front of you. The benefits of doing so. It means that you can fully control everything that happens in Ime Nebula. Moreover, there is a super high level of guarantee for one's own safety and the safety of the dazzling fleet. Before confirming to come to Ime Nebula, Zian has already given orders to Jiang Yao Yao. Let the Dark Matter Organization carry out the highest level of penetration towards the Ime Nebula and even the entire Tianrui Star Sea. Ask for money, give money. Ask for supplies and give supplies. Zian, just a little bit. That's all the information about Ime Nebula. Jiang Yao Yao has come down over the years. Zian was indeed not disappointed. Nowadays, I am even more comfortable with intelligence penetration. When all the money and supplies are in place. In less than 8 months, it can be said that the entire Ime Nebula is covered with Zian's kitchen. Listen to Zian's question. Jiang Yao Yao naturally knew what Zian meant, and immediately replied, based on the information we have learned so far. First of all, one thing can be ruled out, that is, the 2 Nebula Legion commanders and the person in charge are not traitors to the human race. This can be confirmed. And the masters of the remaining 7 star regions and 1883 galaxies. Among them, the Lord of Sector 1.0 is fine, but among the Lords of the Galaxy, there are 7 people who secretly have certain records of dealings with the Inhumans and insects. Although it was very, very hidden, but with a lot of money, something was still discovered, and the people who were infiltrated were all these people's wives, husbands, and children. So there's no issue with accuracy. When he heard that there were no problems with the 2 Nebula Corps commanders and leaders, as well as the 7 sector masters, Zian's expression relaxed slightly. However, after hearing that 7 of the galaxy lords were traitors to the human race, Zian suddenly raised his eyebrows. And before Zian could say anything, Jiang Yao Yao paused for a moment and continued to report, although they are not traitors to the human race. But according to intelligence, the commander of the First Army, the person in charge, and 5 of the 7 sector lords. They all have private military forces under their command. These private armies, it can be confirmed, they are all active in the Ime Nebula. Interstellar pirates. Hear this. Zian was startled. Immediately they all laughed in anger. There are no human traitors. This makes Zian quite satisfied. You can forgive everything, but if you become a traitor to this human race, you will destroy all 9 of his races. But the bottom line of human traitor has not been broken. But the upper limit is definitely not too high. Interstellar pirates may not be as hated as human traitors, but they are not a good thing either. The most important thing is, these people are the top managers of galaxies, star regions, and even nebulae. He is in charge of an entire nebula with countless people. He doesn't care for the nebula or the people in his territory. Instead, he does this kind of thing that harms the people. Zian was really angry. All the time. Zian knows everything. Every race has such things as rat droppings. But I didn't expect it. In Ime Nebula, this kind of thing is so rampant. These people are mediocre and incompetent. In turn, he is an interstellar pirate. Just ask. How can such a nebula develop? How could it possibly develop? Zian suddenly understood why the previous master of Ime Nebula was sneaked in and killed by the enemy. I haven't always been able to figure it out. The reason is simple. No matter how weak the defense is, how could the enemies of the Inhumans and insects not notice when they come in and approach the Lord of the Ime Nebula? Toma. It's not that I didn't notice it. But I realized that these people were trying to compete for this position and pretended not to see it at all. The Lord of the Ime Nebula. For those who are slightly capable in the universe technology group, they would not choose this place as their territory. But no matter how bad it is, this is also a nebula. Serving as the master of the nebula here, no matter what, he is also the master of the nebula and has a lot of income. The power is overwhelming. There is so much that can be done. Even if you just become a local emperor here, that's good. It has a fatal attraction for the biological captain who has no possibility of breakthrough. Zian's voice became colder, and he asked coldly, have all these evidences been retained? Jiang Yaoyao immediately replied, keep it. Not only has it been retained, but the witnesses who provided these evidences have made it clear that they can be provided again. There will definitely be no problem with the evidence. Zian nodded. It was indeed retribution. Because of the evidence provided. They are all the people closest to these people. And now we have this evidence, plus one's own status. Even if all the managers of Ime Nebula are killed, the superiors will only applaud and praise, and will never blame Zian even a little bit. He snorted coldly, said no more, and said calmly, you continue to lurk. We will proceed as planned. I need to see that in a year's time. I want to know all the major events in Tianrui Shanghai as soon as possible. 2 years later, Ian and Russia will grasp it immediately. 3 years later, I must be able to achieve all-pervasive intelligence. Zian said in a deep voice. Jiang Yaoyao responded confidently, don't worry, I will do it. With so much money and resources provided by you, Master, I still can't do it. I don't care what you do with it, Master. Zian nodded and hung up the communication. After that, with a calm face, he led the girls and continued flying towards the nearby Shuayan star system. Shuayan star system, Yezhou star, Ime Nebula's road to the west. The people who were waiting secretly, each with their own thoughts and ideas, suddenly moved their eyes and looked outside. The expressionless 1st Legion commander Xia Chuan raised his eyebrows and stood up immediately. The commander of the 2nd Army, Huang Wei's, who seemed to have a hot temper at first glance, snorted coldly, but did not stand up at all. Sun Qingping, the head of Ime Nebula Universe Technology Group, stood up with a smile on his face. He and Xia Chuan looked at each other, and then walked outside in unison. After all, he is the master of Ime Nebula. You don't have to go to the entrance of Ime Nebula to greet you. You don't have to go to the door of the star system to greet you. But everyone has already arrived at Yezhou Star. If you don't go out to greet them, that's really unreasonable. The two of them got up and went to greet them. The lords of the sectors and galaxies present naturally also got up and followed them to greet them. Huang Wei, on the other hand, snorted coldly and said with a loud voice, welcome? What is there to welcome? It's not a good choice to come here to seize the position of Lord of Nebula. I, old Huang, have been waiting for more than 7 million years. I finally got the chance to take over the position of Lord of Nebula. I don't know where this bastard came from, and he just picked the peach. I'm not convinced. Sit down and wait for me to greet you. This is what he said. But everyone looked at each other. Not many people listened to him at all. Only a few of his subordinates, who were now lords of the galaxy, stayed behind with a wry smile. But I was very worried in my heart. Huang Wei didn't go to greet him, so he naturally had the capital. But they are just a bunch of gangsters, and the Lord of Nebula wants to kill them. Isn't that an easy thing? But they were even more unwilling to offend Huang Wei, a reckless man. What's more, he was his direct boss back then. Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping ignored him, since they were out anyway. Come outside. Look up. I'd rather take a look. Who are the people who jumped out of nowhere to steal their position and pick their peaches? Only. When they raised their heads and stared intently, everyone's expression was slightly startled, and a trace of doubt and confusion flashed in their eyes. It's not just them. Those who followed him also looked up in confusion. See. What caught my eye were 9 Star Destroyers? Star Destroyer? What the hell? Could it be that the one who came was not the Lord of Ime Nebula, but just passing by? Or could it be said that these people are just subordinates of the mysterious Lord of the Ime Nebula, and that the eye of the Ime Nebula has not yet arrived? In fact, this is normal. They don't blame them for their imaginings. They just didn't expect that the master of the Ime Nebula was the captain of the Star Destroyer. Anyone who is the Lord of the Nebula, the captain of the immortal ship, or someone who has reached the strength of the immortal ship can serve as one. But the problem is, if you want to have the strength of an immortal ship captain at the Star Destroyer level, you must be a super genius at the top monster level, or even an ordinary genius level, right? After all, the further back you go, the harder it will be to fight across levels. If a Star Destroyer can be compared to an immortal ship, it must be at least a monster-level genius. So, here comes the problem. If he were truly a monster-level genius, then within the Universe Technology Group, they definitely have the right to choose Nebula first. The higher the training level, the more authority you have to choose better Nebulas. Zian, the highest level, has no problem with any nebula, so a monster-level genius would come to Ime Nebula and become the Lord of the Nebula here? Am I crazy, or is this the day I went crazy? Everyone was puzzled. 5:27, but the next second. They will understand. The next second. One of them is that on the leading Star Destroyer, a series of top-secret symbols suddenly flashed. Afterwards, the confidential communicators of these people present immediately flashed a red light, and there were words displayed in it. The identity information verification of the Master of Ime Nebula is completed and it is correct. This is the identity verification system within the Universe Technology Group. The entire process is controlled by an intelligent optical brain. It's impossible to go wrong. It is also specially used for job replacement to prevent the emergence of traitors, spies, and the like. Just such a short line. Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping both twitched their mouths. The rest of the people slowly grew their mouths. His expression was astonished. This time, the Master of Ime Nebula is actually the Star Destroyer in front of him? Now that their identities have been confirmed, it proves that they indeed have the strength of the immortal ship captain. Because the intelligent optical brain will never go wrong in this aspect of review. That is to say, this new Lord of the Ime Nebula. Or a genius who is at least monster level? Think of this. The expressionless Xia Chuan suddenly lost his expression. The gloomy-looking Sun Qingping's expression became even gloomier. They are clear. What does it mean for a monster-level genius to come to serve? This is a completely different concept from the ordinary immortal ship captain who comes here to serve. The latter. They have full confidence in a fight. DJAU. Just thinking about this made them feel uncomfortable. I just can't figure it out. You said you are a monster-level super genius. Come here and do it. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan were as depressed as they wanted. But the only thing that made them feel lucky was that this evil genius was only at the Star Destroyer level. Perhaps his strength is as strong as the captain of an immortal ship. But they are not bad either. What's more, they are still local snakes. Think of this. Sun Qingping immediately handed over his hands with a smile on his face and said, I, Sun Qingping, the person in charge of Ime Nebula Universe Technology Group, have seen the hands of Ime Nebula. He said this, but his facial expressions, movements and tone did not mean the slightest bit of welcome. Xia Chuan didn't even bother to say anything, and just looked at the starship in front of him with a pair of eyes. The remaining masters of these sectors and galaxies. They all looked at each other and finally chose silence. At this time, the starship's hatch finally opens. A tall and slender figure flew out gently. Because it's on a planet, so there is no such thing as wearing space armor. A pair of eyes that were originally extremely unwelcoming were startled for a moment when their gazes were fixed on the other person's face. The next second, everyone took a few breaths. Impressive. It is a face that can be seen through various channels in recent years, especially in recent times, even if you don't want to know. That one. A strange, yet familiar face. That one. A face that made Xia Chuan, Sun Qingping, and the more than 1,000 people present tremble. Su Zian? Everyone was confused. They wouldn't think of it anyway. The person who takes over as the master of Ime Nebula will actually be him. They thought it could be anyone. I just never thought it would be Su Zian. Who is Su Zian? What level of genius is Su Zian? Even if he joins the top hegemonic force like the Universe Technology Group, he is still a figure at the top of the pyramid that no one can shake. Such a character. Your brain is so fracked up that you actually came to such a bad place to serve as the Lord of Nebula? Everyone was stunned and didn't know what to say. Followed by one, charming beauties and two tall women with hairy noses came out of the starship. Seeing them, everyone no longer had any doubts. They, maybe not as famous as Su Zian, but be part of the brilliant fleet. And he has been fighting with Su Zian for so many years. Since everyone knows about Su Zian, how could he not know about them? See them. The lords of the sectors and galaxies began to panic one by one. Because they just wanted to show their position and attitude to Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping. But there wasn't even a welcome speech. Offending such a super genius, a 100% top figure in the future. How good can they be? Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan suddenly fell silent at this moment. Think carefully, except not greeting Su Zian. There isn't much to offend Su Zian, right? As for anger? Show off your power? Stop it. They are indeed local snakes. Even if the person who came to take over the position of Lord of Nebula was a monster-level genius, they actually didn't particularly care. But *89a. It's Su Zian. This is Su Zian. I didn't see it until I saw it was Su Zian. Many galaxy lords who were born in the military, as well as the 2 star sector lords, had excited faces. They looked at Su Zian as if they were looking at the second idol. No. Is it like looking at a god? This is Su Zian's fame and prestige in the Universal Human Federation today. The remote Ime Nebula. There are still a lot of Su Zian fans. These fans. Among them are some powerful deep space ships and star destroyers. Faced with such an awesome person, even if they are local snakes, they still have to curl up into a roll like dry earthworms. Show off your power or something. Do you dislike yourself for living too long? The Lord of Ime Nebula, absolutely don't think about it again. Because Su Zian is now there, it is absolutely impossible for them to get it. No means are possible. The reason is simple. Even if it is a dirty trick, it is impossible. As long as anything unexpected happens to Su Zian here, then it must be a huge event that shocks all mankind and the entire universe. There is no need for the Universe Technology Group to take action. The Lord of Tianruo Nebula will come running in panic and personally investigate the cause of the accident. By the time, them and their families, no one can escape. The entire Tianruo Lucky Land will be turned upside down. So what if they escape to the Inhumans and insects? Ask the Inhumans and bugs, will you take them in? Anyone who dares to take them in, he will definitely suffer even crazier revenge than the last time Su Zian got into trouble. No one can afford that consequence. The Inhumans and insects, let alone the Inhumans, will not have this level of confrontation with the Universal Human Federation for just a few of them. Unless you're crazy. All in all, They dared to touch Zian. There is only a dead end. It couldn't have been otherwise. So, no matter how angry or unwilling you are, at this moment, everything must be suppressed. Not only does it have to be pressed, we still have to think of ways to eliminate the bad effects caused by our previous show of power. In fact, speaking of it, they were not too angry if Zian took over. That's Zian's level of genius. I believe that it will soon evolve to a true immortal ship or even a void ship level. By the time, I'm afraid they are already the lords of the star cluster, or even the lords of the star territory. Then doesn't the position of the lord of the Ime Nebula still belong to them? Think about it this way. Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan suddenly had extremely bright smiles on their faces. Sun Qingping immediately took a step forward, and the words he called were extremely affectionate. Oh my. Just saying that during this period, my left eyelid keeps twitching. Even in my dreams, I have good dreams every day. Looking at it today, it turns out that good luck is waiting for me. I never expected that the new master of our Ime Nebula would be the famous Su Tianjiao in the universe. It's an honor, it's such a vote. As Sun Qingping spoke, he cupped his fists and bowed deeply. Xia Chuan is not an ordinary person either. He has always been expressionless and has a smile that is as bright as Sun Qingping's. Especially Xia Chuan's flattering expression and flattering words made others present almost spit out, Chen Tianjiao. It turns out that Su Tianjiao is the pride of our human race. Ha ha ha, you are my idol. Although I don't have sweet dreams every day, I can still recite the stories about Su Tianjiao every day. Every time Su Tianjiao achieves something, especially 6 months ago, Su Tianjiao returned to the anti-universe regardless of danger. I have gone through thousands of hardships just to bring my ancestors of the human race home. Even now, every time I think about it, I can't help but be so excited and moved that my eyes get wet with tears. Only the geniuses of the human race like Su Tianjiao emerge one after another and gradually grow into the pillars and backbone of our human race. Only my human race can stand in the universe for countless years without falling. I never thought that I would have the opportunity to meet Su Tianjiao in this life. No regrets in this life. What he said. It was said that the whole place was silent and you could hear the drop of a needle. Anyway, I don't know how the others held back from spitting out. Just you? In the entire Ime Nebula, you two are the most cancerous. You can even say such nonsense as making your eyes wet with tears. This face is also invincible. Watching the performance of these two people and remained calm. A pair of eyes calmly fixed on them, neither happy nor sad, but it was this calm look that made the two of them feel heartbeats like drums and secretly feel weak. After all, I have done a lot of shameful things, and whenever there is a slight movement, I am afraid that the ghost is coming to my door. He didn't even dare to raise his head and look at Zian. I looked at these two for a few times. Zian shook his head. He didn't talk too much nonsense. Because follow the dead. There is nothing to say at all. Too lazy to say anything more. Suddenly his figure flashed, as fast as lightning, and he treated Sun Qingping in front of him. No one has arrived yet. A dazzling sword light suddenly flashed past. The cold, shining light was so dazzling. Of reflection. It even reflected the astonishment and surprise on Sun Qingping's face. And confusion. Obviously. Until Zian suddenly launched an attack on Fu. Until his legs were cut off in two. In my mind, I can't even turn around. Zian's sudden attack stunned everyone around him, and their expressions froze on their faces. Looking at Zian in astonishment. Even Sun Qingping, whose legs were suddenly cut off, had a look of shock on his face, his small eyes flashing with big questions. Who I am? Where am I? I am Sun Qingping, I am a human being, why do you want to kill me? Zian would not explain so much to him. Another cold light flashed through. Before the other party could react, he directly cut off his hands and feet. What you do? Sun Qingping was suddenly shocked and angry, he seemed not to care about the severe pain. He stared at Zian angrily and puzzled, wanting an explanation. Beside, the others also woke up from the shock at this time. They were all stunned on the spot. For a moment, they didn't know what to do. I could only look at the two of them stupidly. It was naturally impossible for Zian to answer him, seeing that Zian was about to kill him again. Next to him, Xiachuan finally couldn't bear it anymore. Although he and Sun Qingping have been fighting for many years, especially in the past 3 years, Japan and Japan have been at war overtly and covertly vying for the position of the Ime Nebula. But anyway, this is also the Ime Nebula. They are natives here. He is the owner here. The position of Lord of Nebula was robbed, and then they found out that the person who robbed this position was someone they could not afford to offend. This made them very depressed, and they were holding a fire in their hearts that they could not vent. But who would have thought that as soon as Zian came over, he came up and beat him without saying a word? At first I thought it was a beating. But looking at Zian's current posture, he clearly wants to kill 370 people. How can I bear this? No matter what happens, the fight between him and Sun Qingping is still a matter within Ime Nebula. Zian can only be regarded as an outsider now, even if he can't afford to offend Zian. But now he started killing people without any reason. He would definitely not dare to kill Zian. But Zian was brought under control, and then reported to the Universe Technology Group or even the Universe Human Federation headquarters. They are not afraid of this. Think of this. Xiachuan immediately turned towards Zian and shouted angrily, with a voice as loud as thunder, "Stop! How can you kill someone for no reason? Even if you are the top genius of my human race, you must give me an explanation today." Amidst the roar, the charging general did not dare to use weapons. He could only hammer the long knife in Zian's hand with his fist. Sun Qingping, whose limbs were broken, could not be uncovered at this moment. I don't care whether I feel distressed or not. If you continue to feel distressed, your life will be lost. Because just now, he clearly saw the killing intent in Zian's eyes. He really wants to kill himself. The evolution value is consumed like crazy. The 4 broken limbs began to recover as quickly as possible. Just a few blinks of an eye. His limbs have almost recovered. Then he roared and charged towards Zian. Yes. This is the biological warrior. Rebirth after a broken arm is nothing. As long as the evolution value is enough and there is no instant death. No matter how serious the injury is, you can recover instantly. However, what shocked them both was, even if the 2 immortal level experts join forces, they can't beat Zian, a god of war. To know, Zian is only a first-grade god of war. He suppressed them and said nothing, and looked at Zian's movements, expressions, breathing, etc. It seems that Zian hasn't really used his full strength yet. This horrified them beyond measure. Is he an unparalleled genius? Is he the peerless genius ranked 266th on the genius list? Yes. Zian's current ranking. Amazingly, we have reached 275. The reason is simple. First of all, Zian's cultivation has been upgraded to a deep space ship. Now it's a star destroyer, but the prodigy list doesn't know. Secondly, it's about Zian's previous anti-universe trip and his 2 attacks on the Inhumans and hyenas. Not much fighting, but the strength is undoubtedly evident. Even a strong man of 1 level higher than him can only be slaughtered by him. Naturally, it has risen by more than a dozen places, reaching the current rank of 275. The people around him also widened their eyes, staring dumbfounded. Sun Qingping and Xiachuan are both the strongest men in the Ime Nebula. They may not be the most powerful among the immortal ship captains, but they are definitely the most powerful ones in the Ime Nebula. Of course, the premise is that the strong men in the 8 battlefields of Ime Nebula are not included. Because the strong men on the battlefield are not under the jurisdiction of Ime Nebula. In other words, the battlefield is directly under the Universal Human Federation and does not belong to any force or star sea. And those super strong men in the battlefield couldn't even move them under orders. Under normal circumstances, those super strong people will not leave the battlefield at all. Because the battlefield needs strong men to guard it once you leave. In fact, it is very dangerous. To put it simply, the relationship between each local force and the battlefield, just like the place, BBFC, and the army, do not interfere with each other. However, once a major crisis occurs in the Ime Nebula, such as the sudden appearance of superpowers from the Inhumans and insects, and the citizens are about to suffer countless casualties, then the battlefield experts will decide whether to come out for reinforcements based on the severity of the situation. In addition, if a major crisis occurs on the battlefield, Ime Nebula must immediately go over for reinforcements. Anyway, not counting the strong men on the battlefield, Sun Qingping, Xia Chuan, and the others were the top strong men in Ime Nebula. But such a strong man was like a child in front of Su Zian. Su Zian slashed at him, but they still vomited blood after resisting. But they might not even be able to touch the corners of Su Zian's clothes. The huge gap made everyone present stunned. "Stop it! What are you doing?" Suddenly, an angry roar suddenly sounded, and then, Huang Wei, the commander of the Second Army, appeared. As soon as he appeared, he roared and rushed into the battle. Looking at his furious look, it was enough to show how furious he was inside. During the battle, Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping's eyes suddenly warmed up. Knew it. One's own people, one's own people. No matter how openly and secretly they fight in peacetime. But at critical moments, you can still rely on your own people. "I'm going to NMB, Huang Wei, are you so blind?" Sun Qingping's jaw was shattered by Huang Wei's fist, and the teeth in his mouth turned into bullets and flew out of his mouth one by one. He hurriedly used the evolutionary value for emergency treatment while cursing angrily. The other side. "Huang Wei? Are you really sick?" Xia Chuan was also shocked and angry. Su Zian cut his stomach open with a knife and his intestines could be seen. However, Huang Wei suddenly kicked his thigh and leg bones into pieces. The two of them were confused. Extremely angry, the people watching the show were also dumbfounded. Don't say it's them. Even the girls blinked 6 pairs of beautiful eyes and 2 pairs of big copper bell eyes, their eyes full of confusion. Even Su Zian. They couldn't help but glance at Huang Wei in confusion. He had just prepared for 1 versus 3. Then he waited for the people he called to arrive, and then suppressed all the people here, as well as their troops and subordinates in one fell swoop. Who knows? As soon as Huang Wei came over, good guy, he started fighting Sun Qingping and the others. What was he trying to do? Su Zian was puzzled. Everyone is puzzled. Only Huang Wei was still furious, and his face was full of anger. It was as if someone had robbed his wife, and he was extremely furious. Seeing Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan yelling angrily, Huang Wei's carrot-thick index finger pointed at their noses and yelled, "Damn it! I should have guessed a long time ago that you are the human traitors hiding in our Ime Nebula. I just said that the previous Lord of Nebula died so strangely that he was killed instantly. It turns out it was you 2 bitches who did it. Now, you actually want to kill my idol? Do you know that the most beautiful person I have now is Su Tianjiao? Ah? You actually want to kill me, Su Tianjiao? Destroy the future of my human race? Die. You both will die for me. Su Tianjiao, you run away first. Leave these 2 bastards to me. Before I die, I will never let them catch up with you. Run. That hysterical roar and curse. In this world, this sky echoes for a long time. After hearing what Huang Wei said, Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan almost spit out blood. CNMB. The people around him also patted their foreheads one by one. For a moment, Mo didn't know what to say. As for the girls, after being stunned for a moment, they all laughed and laughed. but at the same time. From this aspect, we can see how high Chen Zian's prestige is now. Su Zian felt funny in his heart, but he was not slow in his hands. In order to prevent Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan from escaping, they continued to kill them. However, the strength was further reduced, so as not to kill them quickly, but also to prevent them from feeling that they could not beat them. T with Su Zian's Star Wars strength. Just these two people in front of me. Kill him in a minute. Although, they are also immortal level powerhouses. But not all super strong people were once geniuses. Some ordinary people. Also relying on adventure, opportunity, and a long life, I slowly broke through. There are not many like this. Anyway, Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan in front of them have relatively average talents. I got to where I am now due to some bad luck. For this kind of person, Su Zian handles it easily. He is waiting. Waiting for the backup he called to arrive. Then take down them and their forces in one fell swoop. Now that it's done, then clean them all at once. Lest they escape and be hunted down later. Trouble. F***K. You stupid, Huang Wei. You are so sick. Xia Chuan, who had always been aloof, suddenly broke his guard and roared at the top of his lungs, "Idiot! What the hell, Su Zian wants to kill Sun Qingping first." Of course not, we are resisting. We are resisting. I used to think that you were mentally ill, but today it seems that you are completely mentally ill. Sun Qingping was also angry. Huang Wei, you don't have a house yet. Work with us to capture the Su Zian first. If you don't agree with me when we meet, you will kill me if you take action. I seriously doubt whether he is a spy disguised as an inhuman or a bug. No matter how bad he is also petty-minded. He is definitely holding a grudge because we didn't go to the entrance and exit of Ime Nebula to greet him. Even if this matter reaches the headquarters, it will still be his fault. Huang Wei's movements stagnated. But the next second, the attack became more fierce. Fart on you. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Su Tianjiao is my human idol, I can never be wrong. Since Su Tianjiao is attacking you, he must have his reasons. Die to me. Huang Wei retorted, and the attack in his hand became more fierce. Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan were furious. Facing the mad dog Huang Wei, they were really convinced. He couldn't beat Su Zian by himself, and now he added Huang Wei, whose strength was not inferior to them, and he couldn't beat him even more. Looking around, Sun Qingping immediately said angrily, "You are still standing around holding up the corpse. Why don't you come over and help us?" Xia Chuan was even more direct, "Press the Su Zian down." However, their orders, which had always been invincible in the past, didn't seem to work so well today. These subordinates, one by one, you look at me, and I look at you. But no one came forward. Everyone lowered their heads and said nothing. Chen Chen acted as if she didn't hear anything, disobeying the orders of Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan. The most they can do is get scolded later. Even Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan didn't dare to do anything to them. If you hold it against the sky, the worst possible outcome is that you will no longer be the lord of this sector or the galaxy. But once you take action against Su Zian, their 10 heads are not enough. Joke. What is Su Zian's identity? If you touch him, don't talk about yourself. 18 generations of my ancestors are gone. They are not stupid. Seeing that your orders are useless. How could Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan not understand what these people were thinking? All of them were immediately furious. Just when I was about to say something else. Sudden, here, I'll surround this place. Including all the commanders and generals of the 1st and 2nd Evian Nebula legions, they are all captured by me. Everyone, immediately do your best to ensure Su Zian's safety. Anyone who dares to attack Su Zian will be killed without mercy. A rough voice seemed to come from the 9 heavens, rumbling, shaking the entire sky. Everyone in the entire star system looked up in horror at the source of the sound. Then I saw it. One after another, giant starships appeared out of thin air as if teleporting. The place where the sound came from was the Jinyu ship that was more than 100,000 meters long and nearly 200,000 meters long. Township? Except for this township. There are also a large number of vertical starships and void ships, these starships. Most of the hulls are still scarred. $71. It's like he just came off the battlefield. He didn't even have time to repair it, so he came in a hurry. Not only that. Followed by. There were countless starships rushing in all directions. Everyone can see clearly. These starships. They are all standard starships of the Federation Army. But it is definitely not a ragtag group like the Ime Nebula Federal Army. But they are federal troops who come from the battlefield and have experienced thousands of battles. Everyone reacted immediately. These strong men probably came from a certain battlefield. These federal troops. Not surprisingly. It must also come from a certain battlefield. Moreover, Zian? If they heard correctly, they seem to have heard Zian's famous minister? Zian Tianjiao. In their Ime Nebula? Asking for flowers. Even within their own star system? But the shock goes far beyond that. Less than 3 seconds. Suddenly, another woman's roar came from far away. Who dares to attack Su Tianjiao? Die for me. In the roar, another scarred Jinyu ship appeared out of thin air. Everyone looked at it intently, and all gasped. Not someone else. She is actually their goddess of war on the Tianrui border battlefield. At the same time, he is also the Lord of the Galaxy in Tianrui. Just right. Ime Nebula is under this man's jurisdiction. To put it more simply, Ime Nebula is also this person's territory. Not only that. The arrival of this person, it actually brought a large number of federal troops. Without waiting for anyone to speak, he roared directly, "Order! Give me to blockade the whole territory of Ime Nebula. No one is allowed in or out. 0. If there is any abnormality, you can kill it first and then report it." Along with her command. Immediately, the federal troops left in an orderly manner. The order is issued. I saw the cabin doors of the 2 Jinyu ships opening. Then 2 figures came quickly towards Zian. No one has arrived yet. The terrifying pressure was as heavy as covering the sky and the sun. The trembling and horrified Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan were pressed so hard that their legs and knees were somewhat bent. If he hadn't gritted his teeth and held on, he might have fallen to his knees by now. Although they were extremely frightened inside, their eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. These super strong men even led to the arrival of the Federal Army. It was indeed far beyond their expectations. But they are not wrong. That's right. It was obviously him, Zian, who was going to kill them as soon as he arrived. Defensive. Zian, it was a kind of revenge, because they gave him a blow. That must be it. This matter. It must be revealed to the top, and even let everyone in the universe know. Let Zian's countless fans know. They regard it as a proud and sought-after idol. What a narrow-minded person he is. Just because I didn't go to greet him, just because I gave him a kick. But it will put people to death. Not just himself. He actually relied on his status and connections to call in so many superpowers to support him. How vicious. How arrogant. These 2 people were thinking about all this. But didn't realize it. Since these superpowers are here to support Zian. B. Why suppress the federal troops and staff under their command? They don't realize this. In mind. It's all about how to expose Zian later. Enjoy the thrill of revenge, although these superpowers have appeared. But Zian didn't stop. Instead, because of their appearance, Zian completely demonstrated all his strength. No more suppression. Because they, including their group, cannot escape. This is enough. Immediately, Su Zian is on full fire. Just a moment. Damn it! Xia Chuan roared in shock and anger. Ah! How dare you! How dare you! Sun Qingping screamed. But see! After the flash of swords and shadows, both hands and feet were chopped off by Su Zian again. Not only that, this time, he directly slapped the Baihui point on their heads with a direct palm. Violent creatures can suddenly infuse. Moment. The biological energy in their bodies was stirred up to pieces. In a fight at their level. Because of the existence of evolutionary value. In normal killing, the opponent can only die by blowing his head off. And if you just want to control the other party. So simple. Use bioenergy and inject it from their Baihui 830 point. Just crush their bioenergy completely. Although only temporarily. But this kind of damage, even if there is evolutionary value, it would be impossible to recover within a few hours. And this time, apparently more than enough. Instantly controlling them both, Su Zian finally stopped the people. Next to him, Huang Wei was surprised and uncertain. The same goes for everyone else around you. In fact, they also ignored the reason why you took action. Especially when these super powerful people arrived, they actually dared to take action. But not all of them are idiots. As the saying goes, those who are in authority are confused and those who are onlookers will understand. In the venue, several people's eyes were already flickering, as if they had thought of something. Everyone's expression suddenly changed wildly, and their eyes looked around wildly. Look at how they look, obviously looking for an opportunity to escape. But apparently not found. His expression gradually became frightened, and when he saw Su Zian not looking at them, there seemed to be a trace of luck in his eyes. At this time, although Sun Qingping and Xia Chuan were temporarily deposed by Su Zian, but the angry roar in his mouth never stopped. He kept shouting there. He kept asking questions there. Ask Su Zian, how dare he treat them like this? At this time, the two Jingyu ship captains who came to support also landed. Not waiting for them to talk to Su Zian, the two of them held. Senior Feng, please make the decision for us. You are the lord of our galaxy, you must make the decision for us in this matter. Sun Qingping performed extremely well at this time, with a shrill voice and a tearful expression. We didn't do anything. This Su Zian, when we met, he didn't say a word. Just hit me and kill him. If Captain Xia hadn't rescued me in time, I might be dead now. You must make the decision for us. Xia Chuan was also filled with grief and anger. He stared at Su Zian and shouted loudly, although he, Su Zian, is the genius of our human race. But we are not traitors to the human race. Why does Su Zian treat us like this? We didn't do anything. Senior Feng, Senior Liu, you must make the decision for us. Their words finally caught the attention of these two Jinyu-level powerhouses. Looked towards them. But when Xia and Chuan saw the looks in their eyes, they were both shocked. Because they saw a strong look of disgust in the eyes of Senior Feng and Senior Liu. Not waiting for their reaction. I saw that Senior Feng. That is, the Lord of the Galaxy, in Tianrui Xinghai, with no concealment of disgust in his eyes, suddenly pointed out, noisy. But a stream of light appeared out of thin air, and this energy went straight to the throats of the two of them. The powerful energy penetrated directly into their throats. Moreover, the energy directly blocked their voices, making them unable to speak a word. Their eyes widened in horror. His eyes were also full of anger. They don't understand. I don't understand anything. Why, Su Zian and the others dare to be so rampant? But it didn't take long for them to figure it out. After silencing the voices of Sun Qingping and Sun Qingping, Senior Feng actually said in an apologetic tone to Su Zian, I'm really sorry for making you laugh. After a pause, he couldn't help but sigh, and continued, actually, this matter is also my fault, or the main reason is me. In these years, I have spent most of my time on the battlefield. So, it doesn't have much control over the territory. Originally, I thought that these people were just mediocre people. Even if they were corrupt, I would turn a blind eye. The other side of the battlefield is the key point. I don't have time to care about them at all. Who would have thought? They are so rampant now. I said, there are so many interstellar pirates. There are many interstellar pirates, but I can't find them. But it turns out, the problem lies here. Having said this, Senior Fong looked fiercely at the two people whose bodies were shaking like chaff, and said fiercely, it turns out, the leaders of those interstellar pirates are these managers. What a damn thing, a bunch of damn bitches. As for Senior Liu, he didn't say anything. Just watching with disgust. He's just the guardian of the battlefield. Not the manager of a place. Of course it was Senior Fong who had to talk about this matter. Oh. Because their throats were sealed, the two of them could not speak. All I can do is whine. His expression was horrified, as if he was quibbling for himself. Zian glanced at them lightly, and finally spoke for the first time since arriving here. You think you are wronged? Are these slanders? Zian smiled coldly. Since I am here to attack you, I must have the most complete evidence. Not just you, no one in your group can escape. I said. A bunch of rat shit. He seemed unwilling to talk to them anymore. And the same is obviously true for Senior Fong. How could a strong person of her level talk nonsense with Sun Qingping and the others? The reason why they were not killed directly. The reason is simple. I just want to learn from them and follow the clues. See if there is anyone behind them. Or is there a group of them? Just a few of them. It's impossible to do it to this extent. This time. It must be a big purge. And there is nothing unexpected about their behavior. The punishment must be death. There can be no second punishment. Of course. More likely, they will be imprisoned in death prisons. Act as an evolutionary value. On a certain day, someone redeems evolution points, or someone receives an evolution value reward from the Universal Human Federation. It's when they make their final contribution to humanity. Superior. Senior Fong waved his hand. Immediately. A group of powerful federal troops who looked like wolves and tigers immediately stepped forward and arrested Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping and took them away. Not only that. More federal troops rushed into the crowd and began to arrest people. At once. There was a lot of excitement. Everyone was terrified. There are even more desperate people who seem to want to resist, exchangeable. It is merciless, easy, and violent suppression. It only takes a moment. This group of people was all captured. Some people cry out for injustice. Some yelled. There are also silent ones. Some even looked ashen. Feel sorry for them. After. Waiting for them. What will be the result? Those who are left. Including Huang Wei. At this moment, everyone was as silent as a cicada, not daring to make a sound. 2.1 Keep your head down, each one is better than the other. As for Huang Wei's previous clamor? The anger and unwillingness, because Zian picked peaches before? In fact, the moment I saw Zian, everything disappeared. Let alone this moment. The only thing that made him feel lucky was that, he admitted that his ability was not outstanding, but he was good at fighting. But none of these serious violations of the law have been done. After that, when Zian completely became the master of Ime Nebula, no one knew what his outcome would be. But at least for now. He has no fear of life or death. Such a normal takeover. But it ended up like this. 2 of the 3 most powerful figures were killed at once. There is also one who has the most explosive temper and is as well behaved as a quail. All in all. All because of Zian. And Zian, less than an hour before and after. I did this easily. Awe and fear of Zian. At this moment. It has deeply penetrated into the minds of Ime Nebula, the group of Star District Lords and Galaxy Lords. No one is disobedient anymore, with the help of the defenders of the two battlefields and the most elite federal soldiers under their command. Zian spent almost no effort to clear out all those damn rat droppings within the Ime Nebula. After all, if you have connections and power, you would be a fool if you don't use them. What? Is it possible that I have to go to the end personally and fight with Sun Qingping, Xia Chuan and others for decades, openly and secretly, using wisdom and various tricks to defeat them? Zian is not crazy. Directly reduce the dimensionality and attack, and that's it. I won't tell you what's there and what's not at all. Complete in one step. In the mansion of the Lord of Ime Nebula and the office of the Lord of Nebula. Zian and the girls. Seniors Feng and Lu took their seats one after another. At this time, the previous emotions of disgust and anger were no longer on the faces of Senior Feng and Senior Lu. They looked at Zian with a gentle smile on their faces. That look is like an elder looking at a junior. Senior Feng is an average-looking middle-aged woman. But in fact, her real age is not younger than Shilingzhen, even the super-strong person of Shilingzhen's previous era. In the age of the universe and interstellar world, one cannot judge a book by its cover. Because many super-strong people never care about their appearance. For example, Senior Feng, a powerful 9th-level spaceship warship, and the Lord of the Galaxy in Tianruishing 11C and 9Do Galaxy. He is also the guardian of a B-level battlefield in Tianruishing High. A strong man who can serve as a defender on the battlefield. They are definitely the best among the best in their class. If the strength is low, it is impossible to take on the role. They are all strong men at the same level, but you were killed by the enemy's strong men at the same level in 3 strikes, 5 divided by 2. What else to play? Therefore, the Guardians are all geniuses at the same level. So, Senior Feng and Senior Lu were in front of them. They are all plain-looking. However, even if it is a higher-level supreme powerhouse, at least those supreme-level experts whose strength is at the bottom of the supreme level will not show off in front of them. When they were young, all of them were geniuses. Even the top genius, the peerless genius. But at this time, in front of Zian. But he seemed very kind and gentle. There is even a look at someone strong at the same level. Senior Feng was gentle and apologetic. Shaoan, I didn't expect you to take over as the King of Nebula here. It's also my fault that I neglected the management of the territory and made you laugh. Immediately after a pause, Senior Feng asked doubtfully, but then again. Why did you choose this place? Although this place is also under my management. But I have to admit, this is not a good place. You should have countless better choices, right? This was indeed something she didn't understand. Zian smiled and said, since you said so yourself, Senior Feng. Then let me tell you the truth. Actually, what I happen to like is that the public security here is not good and there are many battlefields. Because only in this way can we have more opportunities to fight. And only by fighting can you obtain more evolution values and practice faster. That kind of prosperous place. I still don't like it. That kind of place will not make me stronger, but will make me lose more and more motivation to continue to be strong. Actually, this is also what Zian thinks. And as soon as he said these words. Number 7. Well said. As expected of me, the peerless genius of the human race. You should have this kind of mentality so that you can always move forward and never stop. Then, until you reach the true peak and overlook the myriad scenery of the universe. Senior Lu applauded loudly and did not hesitate in his praise and appreciation. Looking at Zian's eyes, he became a little more kind. Senior Feng also had a smile on his face and nodded repeatedly, well said, really well said. I have thought about it a lot, but I have never thought about it. This is the reason why you chose to come here. Originally, I was planning to do something like this when you just came to take over. I feel deeply guilty. I even thought about how Lao Yang would scold me if he found out. Then I thought, I will personally lead the team to root out all the cancers within the Ime Nebula. But now that you've said that, then I don't care. Let you do it all yourself. I believe that after these two bandit leaders are eliminated, no one left can threaten you. Lao Yang in Senior Fang's mouth. He is one of the captains of the Jinyu ship that Su Zian brought back from the anti-universe. He is a close friend with Senior Fang. Originally, Senior Fang thought he would never see him again in this life. She never thought that Su Zian would give her such a surprise. The feeling I have for Su Zian is definitely not just the kind that an elder of the human race has for a younger generation. Even more so with a sense of gratitude. That's why she dropped everything and rushed over immediately after receiving Su Zian's request for support. Senior Liu is in the same situation. And Senior Liu. He is one of the disciples of Mr. Liu Molu. After receiving Su Zian's request for support, he ran over regardless of anything. Senior Liu also smiled heartily and said, in that case. Then I don't care? Su Zian nodded repeatedly, you two seniors don't have to worry about it anymore. The main reason I asked you to come over this time is to second the Federal Army under the command of these two seniors. This is so that these rat shit can run away after hearing the news. I don't want to waste time chasing them. I never thought that the two seniors would actually come here in person. I'll be able to handle the rest of the matter on my own, if I dare to trouble you. Listen to what Su Zian said. Senior Fang and Senior Liu smiled and stopped insisting. Everyone has their own ideas and growth trajectory for becoming stronger. Su Zian asked them for help and they did not hesitate. Su Zian needs to do it himself, that is part of his change. If they interfere, it will affect Su Zian's strength and growth, which is not good. Both are extremely important figures. Leaving without hesitation this time actually took a huge risk. Because once the Inhumans and insects receive information about their sudden departure, the other party's superpowers will directly attack. That battlefield would be dangerous. The longer you stay away, the more dangerous it becomes. Seeing that Su Zian had no other requests, they could just rush back. I hurriedly told Su Zian to contact them anytime if I need anything. He left here without stopping. At the same time, all federal troops brought to the battlefield were also taken away. They come quickly, go fast too. But the changes brought to the entire Ime Nebula are huge. Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping, who had been in charge of Ime Nebula for several years and operated it for countless years, just disappeared. Including the leaders of the main forces under their command, no one was left, and they were all arrested on the spot. Perhaps there are other subordinates under their command who are also accomplices. But none of this matters anymore. After that, whenever there is solid evidence, Chen Zian will abolish it as soon as possible. More importantly now, they are gone, and the part of the power they control is left without a leader. There are also the remaining lords of sectors and galaxies, including the commander of the Second Army, Huang Wei. Everything also needs to be rearranged. Originally, Su Zian's previous thought was Xia Chuan, Huang Wei and Sun Qingping. Take them all directly. Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping were arrested directly. Huang Wei started masturbating directly. Regardless of whether Huang Wei knew what they were doing, it proved his incompetence. I knew what they were doing but didn't report it. He also had to be masked **RB***TED. Don't know anything about them. It just illustrates his mediocrity and incompetence. At least in management, he was extremely incompetent. Maybe it's okay to just act as a thug. Before Huang Wei did not hesitate to stand on his side and take action against Xia Chuan and Sun Qingping. In fact, his path has already been broadened. Su Zian is not the kind of pedantic person. Since this Huang Wei is so sensible, then simply let him be a vanguard for himself. Su Zian thinks there is nothing wrong with it. After all, he is also the captain of the immortal ship, so he is not weak. It's about the arrangements for the person in charge of the Universe Technology Group, the commander of the First Army, etc., and the arrangements for the remaining managers. Zian. I am ready to turn this place into a hall of my own. Think of this. Immediately. Just contacted the headquarters. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.